Good afternoon. This is Debbie West and Michael Hathaway, the hosts of Lost Knowledge on Revolution Radio. I just want to say thank you to Revolution Radio for hosting us for the last 3 years and for providing us an opportunity to share our information using their wonderful radio station. So, Michael, I thought it would be nice to send a big thank you to Revolution Radio. We've really been enjoying our time with them.
We sure have, Deb. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much for the station and for all the work they do to make this happen. So, also there are lots of information on the Freedom Slips website for people who are looking for anything from seeds to other products and other shows. So be sure and check out the the main page and all of the information that you can find there. So I'm going to introduce our guest today. Our guest is Jason Quitt. He's a graduate of the Institute of Healing Wellness and a student of Algonquin Shamanism. He is the author and teacher of Egyptian Postures of Power and the Yosef Codes, which are methods using universal and fifth dimensional energies of healing the human energetic and psychological system, physiological, psychological system. He's the design director of Tesla Magazine, which is published in Toronto, and he's working on Tesla Mania Exposition and the Healing Field documentary. And I'll just mention he was recently a speaker at the first International Pyramid Conference held in Chicago last week. His latest book, Forbidden Knowledge, which was written together with Bob Mitchell, shares views on the ascension process taking place on the planet today, which can also be found on his website, thecrystalsun.com. So we have a lot to talk about with Jason. Jason, we're very excited to have you today as our guest on Lost Knowledge. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
So, Jason, I want to start out by talking about the healing modalities that you practice and how you use them to connect to this universal energy grid to heal the human body. Can you describe the energy healing work that you use and that you apply to to your own healing and to healing for others?
Yes. Well, when I first started to have outer body experiences and I started to have different contact with interdimensional beings, they would tell me consistently that I needed to heal myself. And I never quite really understood what they meant by I needed to heal myself. So I went to go see many doctors because I honestly thought I was dying or going crazy for all these experiences that were happening to me. And basically they ran every test and they said I'm very healthy. So my answer wasn't in the normal healing world we have today. And these beings started to guide me and say that I needed to learn Qigong, which is an ancient form of energy building and moving. And I started to practice that for about a year. And then in my journeys, I was actually taught another ancient system of Qigong, which actually came from Atlantis. And from Atlantis, it was given to the Atlanteans by a group known as the Plaeladians. And then that information carried through to Egypt, which we still have the statues and the record today. So I've been practicing that for about 8 or 9 years now, and it's totally changed my life. There was not only it was not only physical healings, but emotional, spiritual, and energetic healings. And before I started this journey, I had terrible stomach problems. My whole life, I really couldn't eat anything. I was about 40 pounds underweight. So I looked like a walking skeleton at one point in my life. And I was also dyslexic. I could barely read and I could barely write. And I stuttered. So all of those symptoms, all the things that I dealt with my entire life, they actually just dissolved away once I started to do these Qigong systems.
So can you talk for a minute about connecting to the energetic grids on the earth during this important ascension time? Because I feel like there are a lot of beings incarnated here into human bodies that are starting to need to activate their universal grid system, and maybe are in the same situation you are, where they're really just trying to figure it out.
Yeah. So, when we incarnate here, our energies are very distorted. And it's almost like we're put into this world and everything around us is wrong. It's not the way it's supposed to be. The energy is not right for us. And beings of a higher dimensional nature that have incarnated here find it very difficult to navigate this physical world. And they have these very sacred energetic codes and structures within their bodies and energetic fields that at certain points in their life, these energies will start to manifest and activate throughout them. And they will think that they're going crazy, or they'll think that they're dying, or they may start to see things or hear things that they have no comprehension of. So in this time, the earth grids, because of the alignment that we're going through in a solar and planetary cycle, different pyramid systems in outer space and on this planet are communicating with each other to awaken certain, I would call them crystalline grids or earth energy grids. And because we walk on this earth, and because we're part of this electromagnetic nature of planet Earth, it's starting to activate these children. It's starting to activate these adults with these dormant DNA patterns, these dormant energy fields of, I'll say, their star roots, their star connection to galactic family or dimensional fields of awareness.
Right. And so we talked about this, Michael and I talk about this as a shift from almost like an analog to a digital wiring system, and from a carbon-based to a silicon-based, maybe human body form that we're all experiencing during the ascension. And can you talk a little bit about the importance of the sun and the solar energies that are coming from our particular small sun here that we use on Earth?
Sure. What we have to understand about the sun is that the sun is actually in communication with all stars in our universe and outside of our universe. And it's almost like an interplay between energies, between the planets and the sun. So what we do here, we think we're separate and not connected, but our thought forms, our emotions, and our life streams, what we do on this planet is being put into the earth grids, which go into the solar grids, and the solar grids communicate that information throughout time and space. And so right now the sun is actually changing with the energies of the planet so that we can shift this consciousness that has almost been a burden on the planet and the galaxy as a whole. So we're being, I don't want to say forced, but we're being pushed and nudged into a certain direction of awakening, so that we can change the energy we're putting out into the universe.
Do you find the sun's axis changes a little bit as this goes on?
Even the radiation or the radiant energy that comes from the sun will actually change. And if you go back to previous times, like in Egypt, what I found really interesting is that the sun was different back then than it was today. So there was a different energetic nature or a different radiance to that sun that we received back then. And even the Earth's magnetic fields were quite different back then than they were today. So that changed the physiology of a human being back then to access other types of information and gifts and abilities.
How are we different?
Well, right now, we're in almost a 0 point energy. We are, the electromagnetic fields of the Earth are very weak compared to what they were thousands of years ago, and the radiance of the sun has changed as well. So we have a different signature of radiation reaching us in the Earth, and all of that combines to almost change our reality. So if our magnetic field is very weak, it's hovering around that 0 point. What happens when it reaches zero? Does the poles shift, or does it allow cosmic energy to come through the sky? So there's a lot of questions right now, and a lot of people are thinking that there's a pole shift happening as we speak. The poles are moving very fast towards Siberia right now. So the sky is changing, the sun is changing, and the energetic structure is changing from the Earth.
Does that have to do with the climate conditions that are taking place here, the storms, the violence of them?
Yeah, I think the climate has changed drastically, and I think the reason we haven't really realized it yet is because of the chemtrailing. I think the climate has already shifted and changed, but because of the chemtrailing and the geoengineering, it's almost like they're trying to maintain what the climate should be.
Jason, can you talk about the Egyptian Diad pillar pendulum that you can find on your website, and how can we use this to help us during ascension?
Oh, sure. And a lot of things that come to me, they come in a very strange way. So it's almost like I saw that Jed pillar pendulum in my mind for months until I actually brought it forward in physical manifestation, and then it went away. So it's almost like there's certain tools that come to me, and I don't really understand their purpose until I actually put them out into the world. And what they're saying is that this is a very ancient sacred geometry form, which captures the different dimensional energies and manifests it physically in that sacred geometry form. And in the Egyptian Book of the Dead, this symbol, it was said that this symbol had to be worn by the pharaoh around his thymus, so that when he died, his body would then transform into the body of light to travel the astral worlds. And it was an amulet for protection to give him strength and power in the physical and in the spiritual realms.
So can you tell us about the beings from the star system Tychos in the Virgo constellation who actually I think brought you this information, or brought this to the Egyptians? How were they involved in that?
Okay, so let's go a little back to Atlantean times, and I don't know where to start with Atlantean. It's a long history there, but I'll say that they knew that there was, because these beings were highly advanced, they can actually view the timelines of what is going to happen on the planet. So they knew that there was going to be a cataclysm coming up. And, at the time, there was a lot of war. The Atlanteans were militarized, and there was a lot of wars raging in that time period. So what the Plaeladians thought, and if the Plaeladians came from what you were just saying, the Vega and the Lyra constellation, what the Plaeladians thought was that if they could change the energetic nature of human consciousness, they would actually shift the timelines of the planet where we didn't have to go through that destructive phase of history. So what they did was they formulated a type of healing energetic postures that was given to the Atlanteans, because they believed that if you can change the energetic structure, they can change the timelines. And the way these healing postures work is that our body is a very sacred geometry temple or template. And when you stand in certain postures, you actually create energetic vibratory rates around the body. Now, the longer you hold these postures, the stronger these fields become. And if you do these postures in a specific order, then you're actually creating, it's almost like sacred geometry music. And you're creating this energetic field around the body. Now, this energetic field around the body will actually change and alter your consciousness, your DNA, your thought forms, your emotions, and it will even start to heal your physical body. And this was a gift from the Plaeladians to try to shift us so we could avert from the cataclysms coming down the line. But as we know, that didn't happen, and the Earth did go through cataclysms. And this is where we get the Great Flood myth, and this is pre-12,000 years ago. And but the record keepers from Atlantis who managed to get to Egypt, which was an actual outpost of Atlantean civilization, they brought with them the knowledge of these postures. And if you look at the statues, the stone sculptures, they're all standing in various positions that are very strange. And if you ask an archaeologist, what do these postures mean? They'll just tell you they don't know, but it has some type of religious significance. So we have this history from Atlantis that has actually been brought forward to Egyptian times, and we can find it in the statues. And that's why I call this healing system the Egyptian postures of power.
So one of the things that that Michael and I have been talking about is the parallels between the Atlantean time period and the time period that we're in now. When you go out of the linear time construct, you can sort of understand the realities of the multidimensional world and the synergies that are created as we try to, expand beyond the duality system. Are we right now in the middle of the situation, the same situation that the Atlanteans faced, trying to make a choice between, say, science and spirituality and trying to merge the two together?
I think this is the whole human experiment process. And yes, we are continuing this pattern from Atlantean times and even before that. So it's almost like we have this collective trauma or karma that we need to work out. But this goes way beyond Atlantis. We've had galactic war for millions, if not billions of years. And many of these players, or many of these star nations, be it the Lyrans or the Plaeladians or Arcturians or Orions, Syrians, there's a whole list of these beings. They have chosen to actually reincarnate on this planet in human form. So you have all these races trying to live in one race to work out this really ancient karma that keeps on playing out and playing out. So yes, it's almost like a mirror image that we're going through right now of Atlantean times, because there is, I would say, breakaway civilizations where we already have contact with other beings, other races, and we trade it for technology and information, and we're a very warring community. And we're altering the weather, which the Atlanteans were experts on. Through the grid system of the Earth and the pyramids, they can control the climate.
So we've talked about a lot of that. What I want to stick to though today is the solutions. Okay,
yes,
so
got it.
So how do we manifest, the Lemurian energy and the evolutionary cycle on planet Earth that projects us into a fifth dimensional consciousness as a peaceful society emerging into the Galactic Federation as a member of, the Federation of Light? How do we make that the mission here on Earth?
It's a very simple answer, and that's we have to let go of what we carry. And the only way I've been told to do that is through healing. And that's why they taught me these postures, so that when you work with these posture systems, you're clearing the distortion of your field and changing your resonance to pull you out of these earth field consciousness systems and connect back to this celestial family or your star ancestry. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I was also, and you mentioned the book, the Yosef Codes and the Atlantis Codes. These are books that I was given quite a while ago, and they were actually given to me by a race called the Arcturians, which is a sixth density entity that some believe are actually what we could what humans can actually manifest in the future. So they gave me these sacred geometry symbols to meditate on, just like mandalas. And they said just by going into resonance with these sacred geometries, you open portals through time and space that move your consciousness into these higher fields of awareness. So it seems to me that there's thousands and thousands of people on this planet right now that are consciously downloading and manifesting these very powerful healing systems on the earth, because it's almost like we need them. The human race and the earth is ready to shift out of this old consciousness cycle.
Yeah, we've had people who are working with the Plaeladians, the Arcturians, the even Anunnaki and Greys, all, like you say, incarnated here in human bodies, either walk-ins or regular incarnates, but some hybrids. But what they're all saying is that this shift into the fifth dimension of Earth is predestined, and the transmutation of the species here, not just the human species, but all species, is going to, basically affect us, right? So, like you said earlier, it's not a choice. That Earth has made that decision. That is happening, right? I mean, there's no ambiguity there, right?
That's right, and that's why there's so many higher dimensional beings and star nations that are incarnating here, because the Earth is actually calling them through the sun, and they're saying we need these higher energies to be placed and seated throughout the entire planet and Earth grid, so that they can spread and help raise these consciousness, so it doesn't have to be such a brutal shift.
Mm-hmm.
How does soul fit into this? Do these other races have souls?
Oh yeah, and if you're talking to the different races, they all have a concept of what we would consider a belief system, and they all believe that there is a higher power or a source of all things that they derive their form and consciousness from. So even though belief systems and religion and spirituality might be different between races, it still goes right back to we all emanate from a source, and we are all connected to that source. No matter who you are or what level you're at, it's all come from the same place.
So does that consciousness is light statement that you make, does that relate to this?
Yeah. It does, and it seems to me that it's connected throughout the solar system and throughout the galactic community, and that's why there's so much attention on this planet and so many beings using humans as vessels to channel through, because we, as a society on Earth, we actually reverberate our consciousness out to the galactic community, and we're actually affecting them. So they really want to support us and help us in this shift to lessen the things that may happen down the line.
So one of the groups that I'm really particularly attracted to, I guess energetically, is the what I call the Agarthans, or the some people call them the Inner Earth civilization.
Yes.
Yeah, and my understanding is that they will be one of the first to merge actually physically with us as we enter into the fifth dimension. Can you talk a little bit about that group? Because they've been here holding light for us for eons, from what I understand, and we could learn so much from them.
Yeah, and they actually are connected very strongly to, I'd say, the stone energies of the planet, or the crystalline energies of the planet, or even the plants of the planet and the trees. So it's almost like, because, a lot of people will say that these beings are, third dimensional, and what they do is, they're physical beings living inside the earth, and there are, but the beings that I think we're talking about, they're living dimensionally in the earth. And a lot of these dimensional beings that live in the earth, they're starting to awaken now. It's almost like these sleeping giants are awakening all over the earth now, and they connect to us through the elements of nature, which is the metals, the crystals. So just by holding a crystal, for example, or meditating with some essential oils or essences that are burning and creating smoke, you're actually connecting your energetic structure to these inner earth beings, and they'll merge with you and start to download a lot of earth history lessons. And this is needed because I get this a lot. We are basically a race that has amnesia. We've lost our collective history of who we are as a being on this planet, and it's only through connecting to these elements and the inner earth beings that we start to regain and learn what a physical body on earth really means in our history.
So have you ever traveled to the library of Porthologos there that contains a lot of the cosmic history for this galaxy? Because I have been told that that is what the Hall of Records that Edgar Cayce was talking about actually could look like, would be this crystalline library.
Right. And, I don't want to see, there's so many levels of truth here. And it really depends on who you're speaking to. And you can say, yes, there is a dimensional library, but the Hall of Records is actually our own DNA. And we can actually meditate and connect to this Hall of Records. And in the DNA, we all have the encoding of our entire history. So it's through our crystalline structure that we enter these Hall of Records.
Yes, right. So, but you have to activate your DNA first?
Right. And we do that through, like I say, these different practices and meditations to help change the distortion of our energy fields so that we can walk in those higher energy fields just living in the third dimension. So I'm still Jason. I'm still completely me, just a normal guy living out in Ontario. And I'm having a physical experience here, but I know because we are all multidimensional beings, in the right time, in the right space, in the right consciousness, I could tune myself into these other dimensional realms and connect with that information and knowledge.
Mm-hmm. That must be very helpful.
It is, and I just have to say that all the things that I've received or all the things that I've done, I never asked for them. I never meditated for them. I never, when this all started to happen to me, I didn't know what was happening to me.
Did you remember that movie Men in Black Part 2 where they have that guy, I can't remember his name, and he's a dimensional time traveler?
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking about now. It's like everything that you see in these movies seems so funny, and then it's actually real.
You know what? The more I know, the more I find Hollywood entertaining.
Right. It becomes very fun because it's actually...
Yeah, they hide a ton of information in there that, the uninitiated may not pick up, but it speaks to them at a very subconscious level that opens them up to new ideas and concepts.
Yeah, subliminal advertising, I guess. Can you talk about time travel? Because I know that you have another book coming out, and I don't want you to give it away, but time travel has become a very, topic of interest again. We had some time travel experiments here, the Philadelphia experiment and so on, and Tesla talked a lot about it too. And, people wonder, how can you travel through time, and how can there be what's the difference between what we call linear time and sort of the multidimensional world where maybe there is no time? I don't know.
Okay, so there's two completely different levels to this, and I'll give you what I've been experiencing for quite a while, and I'll call it astral or multidimensional time traveling. And what that means is I have to physically leave my body. So I enter a meditative or a sleep state. I shake my astral body out of my physical body. And then once you're in this dimensional state, you can actually go and travel to different timelines. And when I do this, I am just an observer. So it's an alternate timeline. I can view the environment with all my senses and be there physically. It feels like I'm completely immersed in that environment, but I'm only there as an observer, and I would be invisible to everybody else. So in that state, I cannot alter or change anything. I could just simply observe. Now, there's other types of levels to this type of time travel, and the next level to that is you could insert yourself into a living being on these timelines, and you could experience the world through somebody else's eyes and senses. And then there's a level beyond that where it's almost like a possession type of experience, where you go through the timelines and you completely take over another being, and then you're you in somebody else's body. And
is that like what we call a walk-in?
That could be a walk-in. What I've only experienced with that is my time doing that is very, very limited and short.
I work with psychics a lot, and a full-body medium would do that. They would become that spirit of the personality.
Mm-hmm.
So here's what I want to know. How can we incorporate time travel knowledge into this peaceful transition of Earth into the fifth dimension?
Okay, so there's two different ways of doing this, and there's one where it's time travel into our past. And a lot of people are taken into past to experience, let's say, something very traumatic. And by going back and experiencing these past lives or past events, we actually do a healing process as we do this time travel.
So let's say you travel back to time where Mars blew itself up with nuclear technology.
Yeah.
Okay, and then you say, oh, wow, I have to tell everybody about this because if we're not careful, we could do the same thing here, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and this is the thing also with the future. So I was taken many times into the future, and the future looked pretty awful. And I kept saying, like, why am I being shown these terrible things? And the answer is that when you observe these events happening, just by simply being and observing them, you start to change and alter them. So we can come back into this life, tell our story, and try to bring more peaceful and healing ideas back in time and create new timelines in the future.
Okay, so that makes sense, yeah.
Yeah, it's almost like a warning system. It's almost like future time travel, it's almost like a warning system. This is potentially the path that the society may choose.
Does that go along with all time is happening at once?
It absolutely is. And the more that I do this, it's almost like time itself is an ever-evolving entity where consciousnesses can actually insert themselves throughout all of time and space. And they can seed information and switch timelines. So time is constantly being shifted and changed all the time.
So I want to talk about this multidimensional universe of sentient life that surrounds us. All these different constellations and systems that have, life in different stages of evolution. And a lot of people talk about the first source, like wing makers, or the originators of the different planetary systems. Can we go into the the macro universe for a minute and talk about it from that perspective?
Yeah, and I think when we talk about wing makers, or we talk about the builders or the ancients, I think we can say these are archetypal energies and beings that we bring with us. And I would say that they did exist or still exist, but time is eternal and the universe is eternal. So we have these continuing cycles of different beings going through similar processes in different ways. And, some of these beings that connect to us, they connect to us dimensionally because, they can say they're from, Andromeda or something. But physically, they may not even be there. They may have lived there 2 billion years ago. But their consciousness dimensionally can talk to us now, even though they do not exist right now in our present.
Oh, that's so cool.
So we have access to this kind of galactic or universal community through these different dimensions of time and space that may or may not even still exist. So we have that historical record captured in the light of creation.
So they exist in light, which
Yes.
consciousness is light. And they're existing as a stream of intelligent consciousness.
And because we are all emanating from the same source, no matter who we are and how we've manifest, we have that, I'll call it source time history in us. And we can access all this information if it's necessary for our evolution as a human being or any type of galactic consciousness.
Yeah, the reason I asked that question is because so many people are saying that there's these Earth-like planets that could, contain intelligent life or did at some point have intelligent life. And we know that the Milky Way is such a small little place in this vast universe. Mm-hmm. The search for intelligent life is just full on right now, outside of our Earth. And I was just wondering if there's other planets that are in like this evolutionary cycle that we're in, where we're kind of repeating and we're just trying to, nudge ourselves out into this higher consciousness. And we have some other people that are sort of sharing this same experience that are at a similar level in this evolution.
Yeah, I think all the above. I think that you're definitely right. And, sometimes I look at it as like we're at a very high level, all of us, and we choose to put ourselves in these type of worlds. And there's many, many worlds just like this. Mm-hmm. We're not the only one at this level. And it's through suffering, through struggle, through forgetting who we are, that we actually discover parts of us that we would never discover if we haven't had these new type of experiences.
So now that 2012 occurred, which, we know it's a huge shift that occurs maybe every 26,000 years or so, we Earthlings are experiencing this opportunity for this ascension. How, what happens when you experience ascension? Do you have any ideas like about what that would mean in terms of a human experience?
I've been trying to figure that out myself. And the only conclusions that I've come up with so far, and remember, truth is always evolving, so, we never have the true answer at the time. But what I believe is that the human body is capable of being multidimensional in the physical form. As in, we can awaken various gifts and abilities, and we will still live a physical life, but we will have the freedom of connection to travel the dimensional worlds, to go back in time and space, and to create a new future together. Mm-hmm. And I think it is a very physical thing. A lot of people write off the physicality part and say it's a dimensional shift and you're going to change, and I don't think that's it at all. I think it's more of an integration of bringing the spiritual into the physical and having you manifest spiritual energies through the physical body in the physical world.
Mm-hmm. Right, and all these tools, all this new understandings, all these ancient and forbidden, storehouses of knowledge are ways for each of us to figure out, how to make that activation and that sort of start that ascension process.
Yeah, and I think there's many people, and you can call them star seeds or rainbows or crystal children or indigos, it's almost like they're living a completely normal life.
We call them the fifth root race. Do you like that? Yeah. That's what Casey called them. So that's what Michael and I started calling them, because they're such incredible beings, right? With that built-in, they seem to come in with a different, like you, I think, or you seem to be one of them, but like this, they come in hardwired for ready to go, ready to get this planet going.
Yeah. But even myself, I was just living a completely normal life. I didn't know any of this stuff. I was not spiritual, religious. I had no interest in anything of this type of nature. And there's a lot of people like that. Mm-hmm. And I think, I call it the galactic clock. And it's like on a certain day, a certain energy will come to the planet and say, okay, it's your turn to awaken. Mm-hmm. And you have this spontaneous awakening, and that drives you to figure out more and to go deeper and deeper and deeper. And it is a healing process. And that's what we have to understand. It could be very difficult for a lot of people, and a lot of people just simply can't take it. They don't want to experience it, because we have to relive many things to heal many things. And as we heal and let go, we lighten our energetic nature and we change our energetic structure to become what we need to become. Mm-hmm.
Jason, I found
yes.
that life events also contribute to this kind of shift that goes on. It could be a near-death experience, it could be a spiritual experience, but when something happens in one's life, all of a sudden their awareness has shifted too. Have you found that?
Yeah, and it absolutely, but I have to ask the question, is it really a random act?
Well, I wasn't thinking random. I agree totally with that.
Yeah, so I think that it's like, let's say someone needs to have a near-death experience. That near-death event will manifest itself in whatever way it does, because at that time they needed to change.
Yeah, right. We need to heal. We need to move on and let go, like you say, let go. That Plaeladians, I've done a lot of work on with the Plaeladians. They're bringing a lot of light language to the planet right now, and opening grids. And when you connect with some of their teachings, that is the big thing, is let go, let go. Humans want to hold on, to this, I don't know, it's like we want to hold on to all of our wounds and all of our past and all of our trauma, and we just have to let go and be free and flow along through that consciousness stream, the river of life, or,
And we have to understand as well that we are entities. That's what we are. We are the definition of entities.
Oh, so this one rod group calls them the mind, body, spirit complex. I know you love that. They're six-dimensional, trying to teach us. They're like, the mind, body, spirit complex needs to, heal in such and such a way,
Well, let's say that we have a fight, and I hold that grudge against you, and the simple fact of me holding on to that energy, mm-hmm. I become an entity in your energy field. Mm-hmm. So even though I'm physical, I'm still attacking and pulling your energy as long as I hold on to that grudge.
Right.
So the thing, another word for forgiveness is to let go. Mm-hmm. So to forgive, you need to let go. And when you start to see all these patterns and how people, push each other's buttons and why they're pushing each other's buttons, when we have that perspective, we start to gain something called compassion, because we understand why they're doing it, why they're acting out, why they are doing what they're doing, because they come from a place of being wounded. Mm-hmm. And when we can see it from that way, we instantly have compassion for them and we forgive them. So healing is also a change in perspective on how we see the people around us.
So I want to give you a minute to talk about the Tesla magazine work, because I've looked through some of the issues, and it's an amazing body of work so far. You're the design director. How did you get involved with Tesla Magazine?
Well, it's all about synchronicity, as you may know. I never asked for it. It just kind of dropped in my lap. And the person who started to produce and put all this together, his name is Robert Conley, and he's a film director who's working on a documentary called The Healing Field. And we actually traveled all over the States filming this documentary. And every person that we interviewed, when we asked them, how did you get this information, or where did this information come from, all these different people started to talk about Nikola Tesla. And we're like, okay, this is very interesting. What we discovered in filming this video is that Tesla created the most amazing healing technologies the planet has ever seen. And it was so hidden and so, what's the word? It was so hated by the establishment that they basically banned all of Tesla healing technology, and anybody who was using Tesla technology for healing, they would lose their medical licenses.
Like the light, they have it. They still do it here in Texas.
The violet ray.
I think they call it the Rife technology. It was.
Oh yeah, well the Rife is another inventor who created the.
People were getting their license taken away. His whole studio was ransacked, and
yeah, and in fact, I would say medical establishments like Johns Hopkins University, McGill, all these really high doctoral schools were established just so that they can teach pharmacology and cut out any of this new Tesla medicine coming out into the scene.
Because you can't monetize it as well.
That's right, because if they say follow the money, but it always has to be. These schools only taught pharma culture. So if you were sick, here's a drug. And that's what the medicine turned into. And anything else, because remember, pre-1920, they were teaching natural medicine, light therapy, electromedicine, kinesiology. Like they were teaching homeopathy, all these amazing systems of healing to the doctors. And then once it started to work better than the medicine, they had to put an end to it. So they created something called the Flexner Report. I believe it was in the 30s, which basically banned every form of healing to be taught in schools except for pharmacology. So there's a real hidden history there. So with the Tesla magazine, we decided to put everybody knows about Tesla, the inventor of electricity and the Tesla coil. So we wanted to just do the magazine as Nikola Tesla, the inventor of Tesla medicine, and just teach everybody about these amazing discoveries that Tesla made using electromedicine. And
wow, yeah.
And remember, we don't know this history because it's not taught to us. You really have to do some digging here. But in I think it was like 1908 or 1914. I have to go back into my notes, but Tesla put up about $400,000 of his own money to create Tesla Ozone Company. And $400,000 back then is equivalent to about 12 to 14 million today. So he put forth all the money he had to create this ozone company because he believed that ozone was the cure for so many things. And the way that you create ozone is through high oscillating electrical frequencies, charge the air with negative ions, and it changes the oxygen molecule into O3, which is ozone. This is what happens with lightning strikes and negative ionization.
That's what goes on in the inside the pyramids too, like in Sam's pyramids in Bosnia. They've tested the healing in the ozones and ions inside there, and it has amazing positive ions that heal people. So sad that we're at that place, but we're coming out of it. That documentary is going to be fascinating. When's it coming out?
The producer said that it should be out for Tesla's birthday this year, so it's around July 10th.
Oh, awesome. And Tesla, you probably read his biography, Wall of Light. He came from Venus. He pretty much made that public information. Which now I think it's okay to talk about our galactic heritage. So, the Venetian energy is all about heart chakra, love, so, sad that we didn't acknowledge him, during his lifetime, but wonderful that we can do it now.
Well, we can't get rid of him. So it doesn't matter how much they've tried to bury this information. It seems the more they try to bury it, the more comes out.
Yeah, and that's the forbidden knowledge, right?
Yes,
nothing can stay lost. Lost knowledge, forbidden knowledge, whatever you call it. It's we are on a quest here. The truth embargo is going to
and
set us free.
You mentioned the Bosnian pyramids. Now, that is the discovery of our century.
Wow. Sam would love to hear you say that.
Well, one, it's the biggest pyramid in the world. And two, it's still active. Mm-hmm. It still works.
Oh, yeah.
So if they can figure out how it works, and I think Dr. Sam is already starting to figure this out, mm-hmm. That's Tesla energy right there. Mm-hmm. That's communication between worlds. Mm-hmm. So maybe that's why everybody is fiercely against the idea of a Bosnian pyramid.
Oh, dang it. Well, it's all so wonderful, and we're really excited, Jason, that you're coming forth with this information. His website, again, is crystalsun.com. Go on the website and find out more about the information that he was sharing with us today. His book, Forbidden Knowledge, is on the market as